Joining me now here in the BBC World studio is the former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, who's in London at the moment. Mr. Barak, welcome to BBC World. First, your reaction, having heard what's happened. At least 4 planes have been hijacked, and there may be more.
The world will not be the same from today on. It's an attack against our whole civilization. I don't know who is responsible. I believe we will know in 12 hours. If it is a kind of bin Laden organization, the bin Laden sits in Afghanistan. There is a source of
who else
terror.
Can you identify, though? Because we're not saying he's responsible for this necessarily.
No, we don't say that he's necessarily responsible.
Saw on live television as a second plane flew into the second tower of the World Trade Center. Now, given what has been going on around the world, some of the key suspects come to mind: Osama bin Laden. Who knows what?
Well, that would begin to say that, yeah.
We just saw on live television as a second plane flew into the second tower of the World Trade Center. Now, given what has been going on around the world, some of the key suspects come to mind: Osama bin Laden. Who knows what?
Joining me is Jack Kelly. Now, he is a foreign correspondent, war correspondent, and just came back from Israel. He has some information about these attacks.
Said this is the biggest attack against the U.S. since Pearl Harbor more than 60 years ago. Osama bin Laden appears to be the #1 suspect. At this point, though, nobody will go on the record and say this. Only Osama bin Laden has the sophistication to carry off a multiple coordinated attack. I've sat with his people, and they've said that this is something that they would like to do.
No specific terror alert other than the worldwide caution that had been reissued in recent days because of the strife in the Middle East, because of concerns over terrorists. Of course, the best known is Osama bin Laden, but no alert coming from his organization. And as far as they know, as of this morning, as of this minute, he is in Afghanistan.
But as we should mention, Andrea, it appears that this was a well-coordinated bombing or terrorist act because of the fact that 2 planes were used, both substantial in size, and the fact that they both hit the World Trade Center within 18 minutes of one another. Obviously, a lot of planning went into this attack.
Yeah, John, I have just been told from a U.S. law enforcement official that they are saying it is evident that this is a terrorist-related attack. And among the key targets, key people that they're looking at is Osama bin Laden. It was just last Friday that the U.S. State Department put out a worldwide caution to American citizens traveling abroad and also to U.S. government facilities. And they said that terrorism knows no limits, whether it's on U.S. soil or outside. So they're certainly looking at that as a possibility. What I'm also hearing from my officials at FAA, at the federal key people that they're looking at is Osama bin Laden. It was just last Friday that the U.S. State Department put out a worldwide caution to American citizens traveling abroad.
Early indications, according to U.S. officials who tell NBC's chief foreign affairs correspondent Andrea Mitchell, is that Osama bin Laden is being indicated because this note says he was the only terror leader with the capability of coordinating such an attack.
That sort, I'm not an aviation expert, but a plane of that size, the sort of thing that's very, very common flying over the skies of New York.
And after all, the towers have been struck by bombers before, in February 1993.
Well, they were struck in an attack by a group of men who, most of them, are Pakistani origin, but in a bomb attack which was certainly planned by Osama bin Laden, the Saudi Arabian terrorist leader who is currently living in Afghanistan.
Are you saying that you don't believe Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden were behind the attacks?
I do not believe Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda were behind the attacks. The evidence doesn't point that way. Al-Qaeda is a database of mercenaries that the CIA kept in the 1980s and 90s. Osama bin Laden was working for the CIA, as per Sybil Edmonds, a whistleblower who testified to the 9/11 Commission, but her testimony never got out to the public, said that Osama was working for the United States government up until 11, and look how conveniently he's worked for us since.
Also, what's interesting, 3 weeks ago, a U.S. official warned the Taliban through a third person was that should there be any more attacks that the U.S. would respond militarily. At this point now, the Pentagon and the CIA and the FBI have identified a possible 100 targets within Afghanistan to possibly strike back.
When questioned why bin Laden's most wanted poster does not indict him for 9/11, the chief of investigative publicity for the FBI, Rex Toome, replied,
9/11 is not mentioned on bin Laden's most wanted poster because the FBI has no hard evidence connecting Osama bin Laden to 9/11. Clearly, I couldn't really believe what I had just heard, so I repeated it, and he said, yes, that is correct. The FBI has no hard evidence connecting Osama bin Laden to 9/11.
Is Manny Badillo from the New York City Coalition for Accountability now. He joins us now from New York. Many thanks for being with us here on Pulse Cat. Now, your organisation is campaigning for a fresh investigation into the September 11th terror attacks. Tell us why.
Well, basically, when it comes to the only public inquiry into the events that took my uncle's life and 3,000 others, what we find is the U.S. government has told us a story that conflicts tremendously with the physical, scientific, corroborated evidence that we could all find in the public forum. 60% of the commissioners said that they were lied to, that we did not get the entire story.
Boy, that escalated quickly.